Okay, so in this video, we're talking about something that's pretty fun. We're talking about a new light that was sent to me by Godox. We're actually talking about the NOLED MG1200R. I'm sure you've watched other reviews over 1200 watt Cobb style lights in the past, but this one is unlike the others for a very good reason, and we're gonna get into that in this video. So Godox did send me this light to try out, but they do not get to review this video or have any input on this video before I release it, so just know that as a disclaimer going forward. So this light is going to make a great addition to my new van setup, which we haven't done a video over that yet, but every van needs plenty of lights and stands and modifiers. But for me, the one thing that's really going to add and really make your van package, your personal van package, if you're doing video production, really work is if you have a 1200 watt light in it. And why do you need a 1200 watt light? Well, in most scenarios, you can get away with not using a 1200 watt light. But there's a lot of times, no matter what camera you're shooting on, you might need a little bit extra intensity to compete with the sun. Even if you're shooting indoors, you might have a little highlight come through the window or some sun in the background in the window. And often you will blow those out. It's really hard to compete with that sun. So that's where the 1200 watt comes in. Let's talk about light intensity just for a second. Just a quick overview. The light's intensity is relevant to how much power is being put to it and how close it is to your subject. Because it's one thing to have a 120 watt light pushing right next to your face or right next to your subject. You're gonna have plenty of power to compete with other lights in the room or maybe even sunlight if the light's right here, right? Where something like a big light like this, a 1200 watt light, would come in handy is when you can't put a light that close to your subject. We have to use what they call the inverse square law. The farther the light goes away, you're gonna have a much higher diminishing return on the intensity. So there's a lot of scenarios if you're lighting a big space or if you wanna light through a window that it comes in really handy to have a much more powerful light. So yeah, that's basically the spiel about why you might want a 1200 watt in your kit, or you might want to have access to a 1200 watt. Now, normally you get a 1200 watt and it comes in daylight balance. That's like kind of the starter, right? Is it's daylight balance because you're trying to throw light through a window, make it look like the sun, or try to compete with the sun. And that's kind of your baseline. Then of course you have what are called like 1200 bicolor lights, where you can change the color temperature from daylight down to tungsten, 5600 realm, down to 2700, 3200 realm, and you can kind of dial in your temperature as you want. Now when doing that, if you're gonna have two types of basically LED colors on your light, you are going to lose some intensity usually when you're shifting through those light colors. But there are plenty of fixtures out there that can do both. So basically like this one as well, this light actually draws 1500 watts but puts out 1200. So you're getting 1200 across the board on the spectrum. Okay, so then we're talking about really just two colors, right? So where this light differs from the rest is that this is a 1200 watt RGBW light.
My name is Spencer, and I'm here to say
Y'all want a party mode?
This might be the best light I've ever saw.
This is basically the catch-all, the king. This is the light that you would want that can basically do it all. So not only can you do daylight, you can do tungsten, but you can do red, green, or blue. And then what's really cool about this is an RGBW light, which means there's also a white chip on there along with the red, green, and blue chip. So not only can you do your general kind of daylight setting or tungsten setting, you can also change the colors if you want completely. Like if you want to light a big space and make it look like a party, if you're like in a warehouse or something like that, and you want red, blue, or green, you can do that at a very high output with this light, with no compromise on the power because it is actually a 1500 watt drawing light. And then on top of that, the thing that really makes this special is that extra white chip, that ability to dial in your white. So it's one thing to have a light out of the box come preset for daylight, but you never know exactly what kind of white cast you're going to get. So why this one is so awesome is that you can actually dial in your white balance for whatever you're trying to do, not just your color temperature, right? So maybe you want a little bit more magenta on the subject that you're filming, or you want to pull out some blues or add some greens. Well, with this one, you can switch it over into the RGBW mode and actually be able to dial in the white exactly where you want it. Maybe you're shooting on a camera that leans kind of pink and you just want to add a little bit of green to the face to kind of offset that. You can dial it in perfectly with this light. And that's kind of just the the basics of it. I mean, it can do all sorts of other things. I mean, it has an entire array of options in the menu for effects, for colors, basically anything you want a light to do, this light can do it. So let's talk about the light a little bit. It's huge. It's very big. It does have a very, very robust build quality. It has a really nice handle on top of it. It has a single yoke on it, so you don't have to fiddle with yokes on either side. And what's awesome is you can actually remove the yoke from the light and independently carry the light around. It's got a handle here, it's got a handle in the back. It's really heavy, so I'm gonna put it down. It has a really nice modifier mount on it too. Probably the nicest one I've ever used. It has a really nice engaging mechanism on it. Things go in properly. You don't have to fit it. It doesn't feel like it's just like this tight friction fit. It like is really designed extremely well. Like I said, it's pretty heavy. It's over 20 pounds. Your ballast is also somewhere in the 15-pound range. But it has an extremely large screen on it. It's very easy to read and see, and the buttons are really nicely laid out and give you all the options. I feel like the menu system is really nice on this light. You can also change the curves, of course, on your output, like when you're adjusting your dimmer. Do you want a linear curve? Do you want it to exponentially change as you go up? Change all that on this light. Goes without saying, any light right now in the marketplace should be able to do that, right? And especially a Godox light like this should be able to accomplish that. But you're getting all those features in this really, really high output. Now this is a perfect addition to my van package right now, because I do have quite a bit of lights in my van package, but now I actually have what I'm gonna call a big boy light to always have available for rent on the productions that I do. So we did a couple things to test this out. Thank you Easton and Taylor for helping me out in this video. Basically put it in a scenario that I might use it on set. Now the first thing you might use it for on set is, like I said, you're trying to compete with the windows, but you're trying to keep someone inside. Maybe you have a really, really, really harsh sun coming in the background, out a house that you're filming in or something like that, and you're trying to just get a key light that can compete with that. Well, obviously you could put this in a room and key your subject with that. I think for the most case, you're not going to need to do that. It's gonna be also maybe just too powerful, although this can go down to 1% or even 0.01%, whereas a lot of lights will not let you go that low. Once they kind of get this high in intensity, they have kind of a pretty high minimum. Like their most lowest intensity is very high, whereas this one can actually go down to like 1/10 of a percent. So I turned it on in the room just to see, bounced it off the ceiling, didn't even shoot it direct. There's no reason to shoot it direct inside. Also changed it all the way to tungsten for that. I was able to overpower all the light coming into my house, bouncing off the ceiling and making it tungsten. So if you want to do like kind of day for night situation and you wanted to lower the exposure on everything else in your location, but you still wanted to key your subject as if there was like a tungsten bulb next to them, this would be a great way of doing that. When you have a light this intense, you're actually able to kind of reverse how the lighting is working in the room. Now, obviously this doesn't look very good or anything like that. This is just to kind of see how it's going to react to the camera. We have ND on the camera for all of this. We're shooting on like an f2 with a speed booster. So a lot of light is coming in there, and I probably have somewhere between a 2 and 5 stops of ND on at any given point, probably usually closer to 5 stops when we're shooting through the windows. So then we decided to do what I probably would do if I was actually on a set and take it and put it outside. Take it outside, and what that gives you is it gives you the most throw possible. You can take the light much farther away than you could take away compared to any other light that doesn't have quite this much output. So I took it probably, I don't know, 50, 60 feet away from me, took it out the back of my house and shot it through as if the sun was coming through there. Obviously we're kind of blowing out the window a little bit to do this, but it's actually throwing light all the way at me, backlighting me, and even bouncing off some of the walls in front of me and having some return on my face, which is pretty remarkable. Now there's a little bit of sunlight coming into my house here, and we even did open the windows just to kind of get some more wrap in there just for the sake of exposure. And you'd probably be doing that anyways on any given set. But 60 feet away at a 100% and it's still like very much exposing me is pretty remarkable. And then obviously you would probably never do this, but if you needed to, you could. I just changed it to blue. At the exact same intensity, we blew out the blue on the window. It's that bright, and it still came all the way through and hit me at the exact same exposure. So you're getting the same output even on the RGB mode. And then we kind of worked it around actually more how we might actually light something, and we put it through a window that was much closer to me to kind of light up the background. And then Easton had a good idea of just like taking some haze in a can to put it in the background to help kind of let that light travel and diffuse the background more, give it some atmosphere, which really made it look like there was just a really intense sun coming into our location when actually the sun wasn't even on that side of the house at the time. So we're somewhere around 5 stops of ND. We've got really great exposure in the background now. And then just to show you what a setup might look like, I grabbed my little tube light with a pool noodle on top of it, and I just kind of set it up right in front of my face just to see if I could get some exposure on my face and kind of even things out, which worked really well. It's amazing that you could turn on one light. You have a single source light that basically lights the rest of your room, and you can just put on a little light just to have a little wrap on your subject's face. Does a lot of the work for you when you're working at that high level of intensity. And then we brought it even farther around just to see what it would do, and obviously it's almost blowing out on my face when it's hitting the side of my face in this shot. But just kind of goes to show you though, if you need a really nice daylight look, you can put a 1200 out the window and have full control of the lighting going on in your space. Now this one does come with a 45-degree reflector on it out of the box, but you can get a lot of modifiers for it. There's a Fresnel modifier, and there's some other intensifiers for it, which hopefully Godox will send me at some point, but I did not have those for the making of this video. And then I thought, well, what would be another scenario where you might really need this much power other than distance? And I thought maybe going outside. Maybe you don't have the manpower to set up a giant bounce with a big frame and stands, and maybe you're trying to do it where you are trying to be more low profile. Well, I just took one of my 7-foot ultra bounce umbrellas, put it on a C-stand, shot the 1200 right into it to create a bounce, and it was actually exposing my face almost perfectly. Maybe I could use a little bit more bounce out of it, but I could just been like changing the angle. I was doing it by myself, so this is just kind of what I came up with. Outside, I was being completely backlit by the sun shooting into some trees, and I was able to expose my face with this light just shooting into an umbrella outside. So there's a lot of scenarios where you're outside and you still want to have some sort of control of your light, and maybe the sun isn't working well enough for you. That's where you really need a light that can compete with all that level that's coming from the sun outside versus being inside where you have much more control. Something to note about a light this big, you're definitely going to need a combo stand or something that actually has a junior receiver on it. These lights are heavy and they won't be able just to fit on any light stand, but it does come with a very nice clamp to hold the ballast on it, and I feel like the whole setup of this is just extremely well made. This can be one of the most well-made lights I've ever got to use myself. I mean, this is really built like a tank, and it should be. It costs quite a bit of money. It's somewhere in the like $5,600 range for this light with a case. And you're going to get the reflector and the ballast and all that stuff to get it working and running, the head cable, etc. Now it's quite a bit of money, but this is one of those lights that's going to save you so much time and trouble on any set that you're on. You won't have to fight and compete with the sun, or if you need to take a light and put it really far away, you'll be able to do that with this light. This is just one of those things that once you get farther into lighting and into your career, you're going to find out you're going to want something with a little bit more intensity around to solve your problems quicker, and this is one of those lights that's going to get that done. And you get the full RGB spectrum with this light, including to be able to change the white balance on the fly. It's kind of one of those scenarios when you think about, like, you're talking about your camera and your lenses, and we obsess over those pieces of gear, but we know that lighting is what really makes your shot look good. Set dressing, production design, lighting, and story is what the king of really what makes a good image. So if you'd rather spend less money on your camera and really go into the lighting, this would be something that you could invest in for your lighting kit. And then of course, obviously this work has app control just like any other Godox app. You know that I use their light mat a lot. I mean, this 1200 with their light mat would be a great combo for a lighting kit if you wanted to go with all Godox lights. I mean, honestly, pairing this with the light mat is a great way of getting stuff done. You could shoot this through a window, use the light mat to add more wrap and key from inside, and you could do a lot with just those two lights. Okay, I'm going to actually stop talking for a second and maybe turn the fan back on this because I don't want this unit to get too hot. And while I'm doing that, let's take a break, and I want to thank the sponsor of this video, which is Squarespace. Squarespace is an all-in-one platform to present your work online. Start a completely personalized website with design intelligence from Squarespace. Design intelligence empowers anyone to build a beautiful, bespoke digital identity to use across your entire online presence. Maybe you want to start an online store to sell your photography or other products. Squarespace has the built-in functionality to get one of those up and running quickly. I've actually been using Squarespace to run my online stores for almost a decade now. And of course, if you're like me, you're probably looking to build a portfolio, which Squarespace has tons of features for that very thing. You can even create private galleries for client work using these tools. As you acquire work through your website, you can now collect payments using branded invoices, manage client info, feedback, and payment activity all in one place. So if you're looking for a home for your work, you can do that with Squarespace. Click the link in the description to get 10% off, and I want to thank Squarespace for sponsoring this video. You can also change the target gamma for this. You can choose like Gamma 2.4 or Rec 709 or something like that, and it's going to actually change its color spectrum to help you with that. But it does sound like something that if you're really getting the nitty-gritty of things, maybe you want a really nice light like this in your studio to be able to do that sort of thing, then this might be a light to consider. And then of course it has full DMX control as well, so you can hook it up and really use it in a studio environment in that way. Well, I'm super excited to have a light this powerful in my kit. I feel like I'm really gonna be able to get stuff done and work a lot faster with it and solve problems much faster. So thank you Godox for sending this light out, and of course head to their website if you want to learn more about this light. And as always guys, that's enough from me. I'm Citra Sakurai. See ya.